Well, welcome everyone to Camping in the Forest. My name is Michael and these three are my characters, Jill, Lawrence, and Michael. No relation. The four of us belong to the absolutely fictional, there isn't even a webpage that exists about us except for on YouTube, Appalachia Trailblazers Association. Our job is to explore the Appalachia of Fallout 76, discover its secrets, so we can make your gaming experience the best it can be. Today we're going to visit 3 locations in the forest region of Appalachia that provide a number of advantages to players of any level. So without further ado, let's dive in. The forest region is undeniably one of the most visually beautiful regions of Fallout 76. At times I felt like I was stepping into a magical wonderland, and I could not help but stop and stare at its majesty. When exploring the forest region of Appalachia, I asked myself 4 questions. What's it like to camp there? What resources are available near my site? What building options do I have? And finally, what are my gameplay options? Like working towards your score challenge, what workshops are closed, that sort of thing. I camped at each site a minimum of 1 week to really get an idea what it felt like to be there. Our first site, and one of the first places I settled, is a location I call Cliffside, located above Flatwoods. This site, while not exactly flat, has an immediate benefit for builders with the cliff forming 3 stairs of a staircase. At this site, you can place your camp in such a way as to build on all 3 levels, and the view here is incredible. On the middle stair, there is a rock formation creating a natural entrance to the camp, and as you can see above, I've built a reactor for my power supply, covered and protected. An additional feature to the camp is a well-worn pathway that leads up to the Orwell orchards above, or to the dry riverbed below. You will get some unwelcome visitors coming along the path, and so I placed 4 turrets down at the traffic points, and to date, that has taken care of most of the problem. Fortunately, not all your visitors want to destroy your camp. In fact, when it comes to companions, you will have an opportunity to meet the settler companions at this location. Now let's talk about the available resources in the area. First up, Flatwoods. Flatwoods is an abundant resource pool providing something in just about every category. The town is littered with junk, the dry riverbed strewn with fallen trees, and there is a lead cache located at Green Country Lodge. That's a lot of resources for building and repairs all in one spot. For botanical resources, this region has a large and diverse selection. For water, the river running through Flatwoods is your closest source. Taking a walk along the river, you will find bloodleaf and snaptail, 2 of the 3 main ingredients for disease cure. Incidentally, you will find Firecap down towards Charleston Station below the ship where the cooking station is, or sometimes in the basement of the Agricultural Center. Along the dry riverbed towards Sunshine Meadows, you will find glowing mushrooms, rhododendron, soot flowers, and wild mudfruit in abundance. And finally, in the town of Flatwoods, there are community gardens containing silkbean and tato. Oh, thank you, Mumu. And for those of you wanting to avoid Rataway, Brahmin Milk will take care of those pesky rats and allow you to keep your mutations. To the available gameplay in the area, the Cliffside campsite is no slouch. Immediately below is the Vault-Tec Agricultural Research Center, where the Fertile Soil event takes place. Defeat 3 Supervisor Protectrons, and then send a command line from the computer in the basement, and you'll have a quick and easy event completion. For workshops, there are 5 close and easy options that will require minimal time to claim. These are the Billing Homestead, the Charleston Landfill, the Lakeside Cabins, Sunshine Meadows Industrial Farm, and the Wade Airport. In fact, there is actually 6 when you include the Poseidon Energy Power Plant. However, the event to take the workshop can consume a bit of time. So whether you are farming for plans, resources, or just working on a score challenge, the workshops located at the Cliffside campsite are conveniently close and cheap to travel to. On a side note, those of you looking for power armor, check out Wade Airport. With the advent of patch 22, you can now fast travel to Crater or Foundation for free when looking for vendors. Around the campsite, you have Bob in Flatwoods, and as he says,
Bobbins, got you covered.
To cash in your legendary items, the closest fast travel point is Charleston Station, and it makes for a nice walk on a sunny day. Finally, you have Duchess at the Wayward, and I won't give away any secrets here, but she'll make it worth your while if you run her quest line. Don't forget to say hi to Bessie. All in all, I really enjoyed spending time at the Cliffside camp. I found the area engaging and fun to explore, I really enjoyed the variety of encounters and experiences I had living there. Okay, now on to our second site. Our visit to the second and third campsites will be a little shorter as we've covered some ground talking about local workshops, vendors, and resources available. These locations are still close to the next two sites. It will just require some camps to travel there, or a bit of walking time, whichever you prefer. This next site I called Crash Vertibird with Ponte as it sounded like a funny real estate ad. The site had the advantage of being near the Meat Week cookout, which made a happy discovery en route to the camp. Here's some footage of Lawrence displaying a few options where you can drop down your camp. Now let's place the house and have a look around. The first and most obvious benefit of this location is the pond. From power generation to water production, the pond is an obvious benefit for any camp. As the stylish Captain Cosmos showed us, the site attracts welcome visitors. As a free fast travel point, Vault 76 provides a way for shoppers or friends alike to get to your camp on the cheap. And during Meat Week, you are sure to get many visitors at your camp. Speaking of visitors, there is a regular settler who stops by for conversation or sometimes to give you a gift, and every once in a while that settler is a companion. Across the field from the pond is the Crashed Vertibird, and yep, you can camp there too. However, this is a regular spawn point for raiders, and unless you are friendly with the faction, you may expect to come in conflict with them often. I moved my camp there for 2 days and decided to move back to the pond, in part because I felt sad about leaving the settler alone at the dock. That, and I really wanted to build a diving board. Aside from the raiders, you will have other unpleasant visitors from time to time to the campsite. Most commonly it seems to be infiltrators, ghouls, and protectrons. I found a minimal defense was all that was required and set up 4 turrets at strategic locations. Oh, and I had to pen up my Brahmin. She kept getting chased around the camp by the ghouls and infiltrators. For you herbivores and those wondering where a good supply of fire cap is, the Crashed Vertibird with Pond site provides. Not far from the campsite you will find ginseng root growing near a broken down truck, glowing mushrooms, rhododendron in many places, silt bean, soot flowers, and wild mudfruit. There is also an iron deposit near the Crashed Vertibird that is useful in creating steel if you have enough acid to smelt it, and iron veins can be found a short walk from the campsite. Continuing to speak about resources, there are locations of note just below the Crashed Vertibird with Pond site. First up is the Moonshiner's Shack. Here you will find an assortment of useful junk items as well as vegetables you can plant. Sometimes there's even a recipe that spawns there. This is a good spot for new players to get a start on their resources, however, watch out for the ticks. At the base of the hill is the Gilman Lumber Mill, and directly across the street from it is the Wixton Homestead. Both locations provide junk resources and some action, and a bit of comic relief if you walk by the Lumber Protectrons at the right time.
Lumberjack Protectron works all night and also works all day.
So here we are back at the pond, and as you can see I've done a bit of remodeling. Let's go and test that diving board and see if it's deep enough. Yep, it's deep enough. As you can imagine, I had a lot of fun at the Crashed Vertibird with Pond site. It provided ample building opportunities, an inexpensive travel location for visitors, and a decent amount of resources close at hand. And the Meat Week cookout was an absolute bonus. Now, on to Site 3. Marigold Pond is located close to Point Pleasant and the Mothman Museum. The closest and most immediately adjacent fast travel point is the Marigold Pavilion. Like the other two sites, I chose this spot for the ambiance, including a spectacular 360-degree panoramic view. Once again, the pond provides an obvious resource for power generation, water collection, and, yep, it's deep enough for a diving board. As mentioned, up the path is the Marigold Pavilion. Depending on its residents, you may be in for a bit of action, however, there is some loot to be had there. Speaking about lootable locations, just down the slope is the aforementioned Point Pleasant, which is an excellent source of shooting and looting. There's a lot of crazy cultists in that town, watch out. Along with locations of loot-worthy note, this area is rich in green ingredients. Here you will find aster, blackberries in abundance, carrot flowers all over the place, fire cap, firecracker berries, glowing resin, snaptail, and last but not least, rhododendron, all growing in close proximity to the campsite. For workshops, there are two I should mention that are close to the crashed Vertibird and Marigold Pond sites. These are the Tyler County Dirt Track to the north and the Gorge Junkyard to the east. This area also sports a number of locations to explore, like the Tyler County Fairgrounds where you can turn a lot of junk into cloth, or Deathclaw Island where, well, enough said. When it comes to unwelcome visitors, staying at Marigold Pond is mostly peaceful. I thought that with Marigold Pavilion being a spawn point, I might see more trouble coming down the hill. However, I only set up 3 turrets, and they take care of most of the bad guys. Mostly infiltrators, but some mole rats as well. As for you sellers here, Jill set up a spooky vendor just in time for Halloween. While not a traffic hub like the crashed Vertibird with Pond site, you will see shoppers come out here to check out your store. I believe it helps being close to Point Pleasant. For you builders who love to experiment, there are lots of opportunities here at Marigold Pond. From the docks to the hidden nooks and crannies to the different elevation levels of the landscape, building here was a dream that took me 5 stories high. And the view is awesome. And that about wraps up our adventures for today. Of course, the 3 campsites we have visited are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the possibilities in the forest region, and you can bet we're going to be bringing you more camping guides in the near future. On behalf of the Appalachia Trailblazers Association, thank you for stopping by. Be sure to stay tuned for more camping videos, and in the meantime, happy trails. Along with locations of loot-worthy note, this area is rich in green ingredients. Here you will find aster, blackberries in abundance, carrot flowers all over the place, fire cap. Here you will find aster, blackberries in abundance, carrot flowers all over the place, fire cap, firecracker berries, glowing resin, snaptail, and last but not least, This area also sports a number of locations to explore, like the Tyler County Fairgrounds, and I'm going to start that again. This area also sports a number of locations to explore, like the Tyler County Fairgrounds, where you will find a lot of junk you can turn into the cloth. Then you can turn into the cloth. No, not into cloth. The cloth. Now let's talk about available resources in the area. First up, Flatwoods. Flatwoods is an abundant resource pool providing something in just about every category. The town is littered with junk. An additional feature to the campsite is a well-worn pathway that leads up to the Orwell orchards above or to the dry riverbed below. And you will get blip. Along the dry riverbed towards Sunshine Meadows, you'll find glowing mushrooms, rhododendron, soot flowers, and wild mutfruit in abundance. And finally, in town, as I trip over my tongue again, along the dry riverbed towards Sunshine Meadows, you will find glowing mushrooms, rhododendron. Continuing to speak about resources, there are 2 locations of note just below the crashed Vertibird with Pond site. Closest is the Moonshiner's Shack. Shiners. Continuing to speak. Along with locations of loot-worthy note, this area is rich in green ingredients. Here you will find aster, blackberries in abundance, carrot flowers all over the place, fire cap, firecracker berries, glowing resin, snaptail, and last but not least, sideways. Continuing to speak about resources, there are 2 locations of note just below the crashed Vertibird with Pond site. Closest is the Moonshiner's Shack. Continuing to speak about resources, there are 2 locations of note that are just below the crashed Vertibird with Pond site. Closest is the Moonshiner's Shack. Moonshiners. Say it. Moonshiners.